Nintendo is the king of using popular IPs to introduce new ideas to its customers. While Mario Galaxy is indeed a Mario game, it really just uses the character and universe as a front to introduce new people to using the Wii Remote. The only game that utilizes this aesthetic at the Wii's launch is Excite Truck, a high-speed off-road racing game that has more in common with Nintendo's other hyper-fast racing franchise, F-Zero, than it does its namesake. Can it carry on the pedigree, or should it be called mildly entertaining truck? Excite Truck is one of the most bare-bones console racing games released in recent memory. There are just a few options to choose from, and none of them are especially innovative. The primary single-player option has you going through a series of races against 5 other vehicles. Surprisingly, the overall objective isn't to finish first. It's to collect a set number of stars for each race. You're rewarded with stars for doing just about anything in the game. Power slide, stars. Smash another truck, stars. Catch major air, you get the point. The place you finish in does ultimately help your score, as you'll get bonus stars that can put you over the top. After each race, you're ranked using a letter grade system, and to get the coveted S ranking, you're going to have to finish first and do it with flair. Unfortunately, flair is not exactly a word you can use to describe Excite Truck. It really doesn't have any. The big draw here is catching as much air as possible and going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Boosting is the key, and doing so just after launching off a ramp will send your truck careening into the atmosphere at breakneck speeds. As you complete each circuit with a particular ranking, you move on to the next. This process repeats over and over as you unlock new vehicles along the way. Other than the circuit, there's also a challenge mode that either has you crashing other cars during a time limit, navigating slalom gates, or trying to jump as far and high as possible through rings. While none of them are particularly addictive, they do help to train you for the circuit option, where all the skills are put to the test. There's also a multiplayer mode for up to 2 players, where you can go head-to-head on any of the tracks you've completed in the circuit using any of the unlocked vehicles. When we say head-to-head, we really mean it. It's just you and one other car, as the game will not fill in the field with computer-controlled drivers. There's also no online play, and overall, you'd have to almost try to make a game with fewer features than Excite Truck. There are just 4 basic types of terrain, and they span the typical snow, desert, tropical, and forest environments. Each terrain type has multiple paths cut across it to boost the total track number, but it doesn't take you long before you begin to feel like you're driving around the same courses over and over. One of the few innovative features, well, for a Wii game anyway, is that you can plug in an SD card loaded with MP3 files and play your own music. And you're going to need it too, as the soundtrack is woeful. The same goes for the sounds of some of the trucks, which resemble lawn boys with nitrous kits instead of the horsepower-laden beasts they're supposed to be. Visually, the game stays on this pace, while the sense of speed is incredible. Trees and other objects pop into view, and the trucks are modeled with a modest number of polygons. It's certainly no looker, but if you crave speed, you're definitely going to get your fix. Excite Truck uses the Wii Remote in a somewhat unique way in that you turn it on its side and hold it like an NES controller. The controls are incredibly simple. The 1 and 2 buttons are used for brake and gas, respectively, and pushing any direction on the D-pad will give your truck a turbo boost. Steering is handled by tilting the controller from side to side, though it's a little too inaccurate to keep a handle on your truck when the environment is flying by at killer speeds. A lot of times, you'll end up overcompensating with the steering, causing your truck to slip around turns, losing speed. Tipping the controller so it's completely vertical, trying to get around really tight turns, will cause the steering to go into a dead zone and become worthless. The tracks aren't exactly wide open, and one small divot or tree stump will cause your truck to fly hundreds of feet off course. This is remedied a bit by the ability to steer your car in midair and adjust its trajectory. In one of the only nods to the Excite franchise, making sure your truck lands on all 4s at once will give you a bonus turbo boost. You can adjust your truck's orientation in the air by tipping the controller forward or backwards, and getting these extra boosts from this technique is often the difference between getting enough stars or starting the race over. Blasting the turbo off jumps is another key to success, as a well-timed boost off the lip and tipping the controller back will reward you with exorbitant amounts of air. Some jumps also have rings hanging in the air that you can soar through that will earn you bonus stars. You basically have unlimited turbo, though you have to watch the heat gauge to make sure your engine isn't going to seize up. Driving through water or catching air will cool your jets, adding one of the few tidbits of strategy to the game. As far as power-ups are concerned, there's one that makes your car turn invincible, allowing you to plow through trees and other objects with reckless abandon. There's another that will deform the terrain, opening up shortcuts that are otherwise inaccessible, or sending rival cars skyward. The computer never gets to use these, which may make the game a little easier, but it would be great to see what it's like to have your car shoot into the air, if only for a thrill. Playing Excite Truck will get your blood pumping for a while due to its incredible sense of speed, but the speed is also what ultimately kills it. With the controls not where they should be, it can be incredibly difficult to keep your 4x4 on the course, and not wrapped around a tree. Excite Truck has about as much in common with Excite Bike as Mario Kart does. Looking at the game on its own merits, it's a shallow experience with a simple yet finicky control scheme. We'd be lying if there weren't more than a few times where we wished we could just simply use an analog stick. Its high-flying sense of speed is something to experience, but there's not enough here in terms of depth or tight gameplay to recommend someone spend their money on it, making Perfect for a Rental Truck a more apt title.